When I was 205, I hated being fat. All I cared about was losing that weight. And I did. But I didn't know that there was a more effective way for me to actually lose that fat way more effectively, and really stop worrying about counting calories. Because honestly, who likes to live life with counting calories? Personally, I don't like doing that. I started to develop an eating disorder where mostly it became where food just is simply just numbers. But truthfully, do I really want to live my life to just view food as just numbers and macros? Of course not. And was able to actually lose 65 pounds of fat in less than 6 months with me actually doing this correct method. Because you've accumulated so many months of eating that junk food, the processed food, and you just start to looking at yourself in the mirror and you just have zero confidence. Well, you came to the right video because I'm going to teach you what to actually do, especially if you're in a Hispanic culture. Because overall, us Hispanic men, we're relatively obese. And I don't like to live life like that because there are many things in life where you want to look nice and actually look presentable. I don't want to go to a family event and I start having to suck in my stomach, pulling the shirt all the time because I just didn't want to look fat. So let's just jump into it. And if you like the advice here, I really highly recommend to subscribe because I will teach you how to actually lose weight so effectively, because I just want for you to be able to lose all that fat, because I know how life is when you're 205. No one likes to be fat. And I want you to experience a life where you're able to actually feel confident in your skin and honestly help around the people around your whole family for them to actually lose the weight, because majority of them are still struggling to this day. So let's just jump into it. First things first, you're going to have to know these 3 types of hormones, because throughout our whole life, back to the ancestral tribe or your great-great-grandfather, or just in general, like us humans, we are not supposed to be controlled by calories. We are mostly controlled by hormones. That being said, we are controlled by 3 types of hormones that we have in our body for us to actually really lose fat, gain fat, and make us hungry and make us not hungry. These 3 hormones are going to be called ghrelin, leptin, and insulin. Now, we're going to get into insulin. Now, what I'm going to say about insulin is that it's one of a hell of a hormone that I don't know why we exist. Because solely the reason for insulin is just for you to attain fat. It is totally reasonable to understand that when you're not available to resources like food out there in the world, your body needs to kick in for food like that as your fat to actually help you completely feel energized for tomorrow. As we're advertised by the Hispanic food, like the tortas, sopes, gorditas, these foods are not going to be really good beneficial for us because this is the one food that completely will spike insulin. And so how can you tell if you get insulin? It's very simple. So there's always these types of foods that you're going to be eating and you get a sense of bloatness. That bloatness is an indication that insulin is up. And the crazy thing is that if you feel that bloatness in your stomach and you feel it getting a lot noticeable due to the bloatness, insulin actually skyrockets. Therefore, when insulin is skyrocketing, you will just gain fat from it. There is nothing else from it. You'll just simply will gain fat. Let me tell you this again. You need to be able to control this hormone. Because if not being controlled, you're still going to be storing fat for another day. And again, we're not here to gain fat. We're here to lose all that fat because we don't need that much fat on ourselves. So when you go throughout your day and you find foods that you eat, you get a sense of bloatness. Those right there is actually an allergic reaction. This is your allergic reaction to your gut microbiome telling you that they cannot consume the food. They can't rip out any nutrients out of that food because there's no nutrients into that certain food. That's probably why you feel really bloated after eating pizza or eating cookies or simply just drinking soda. I remember back then when I used to be such a fat ass, I always ate crumble cookies. When crumble cookie became a new popular thing, my fat ass always used to be there all the damn time. And honestly, I didn't care about the bloatness. I thought it was just a sensation of being full. But little did I know that was actually my gut microbiome giving me an allergic reaction and me being naive understanding that. Yeah, it was cheap. Did I care about my body? No, obviously I was selfish and I'd rather have pleasurable gains than having something that's going to be beneficial for my body. Pizza all the time from when Little Caesars was $5. You're really going to say no to that? But little did I know, I didn't know that it caused bloatness, therefore it's going to increase insulin, therefore it's going to make you pretty much gain fat, and then eventually have a terrible gut microbiome. When you're going out throughout the day and day, when you eat your certain foods, you're going to have a sensation of bloatness. When you have those, just remember that insulin is being activated and fat is just being gained. So let's talk about the other two hormones. We have leptin and ghrelin. These are very two simple things. They don't really function much as more except for leptin. Ghrelin is kind of just a scam in my opinion, but ghrelin is just simply your timing blocks of when you eat. So you do get the signal of you being hungry. You're walking throughout the day and then you get a sensation of hunger. That is ghrelin actually telling you that they're hungry. But the crazy thing is that you don't really have to listen to it. The only reason why it activates is because throughout your whole week, you've been eating around certain time blocks and your body's starting to get used to those time blocks if you continue eating. Therefore, it's going to gradually increase ghrelin. So it pretty much will go up during your time blocks and then eventually go down after your time blocks, because normally you would eat at that time, but if you don't, do not worry about it. Ghrelin is just a hormone for just to indicate you if you're hungry. You really don't have to listen to it that much, only if you need to. Let us just say that you're out with your friends and you guys are at a city and you guys want to try some foods. And there's foods that you don't really want to try, but you're super hungry. The crazy thing is that you really don't need to eat that. You don't have to listen to the hunger hormone. You could simply just wait and get another food that you really like to have. So when you ever feel hungry, just remember it's your hormone ghrelin, and as normally it's just a hormone to tell you that you're hungry. You don't have to listen to it, but if you want to, you can. So the next one is going to be leptin. So leptin is going to be the actual hormone that actually tells you that you're full. That's the satisfaction of, okay, I don't need to eat anymore. But the crazy thing is that how would you feel that when you get the sensation of bloatness? See, when I told you this previously, insulin will make you feel bloated. So let's just say there's two hormones, and these two hormones only can be activated once at a time. So let's say you ate a bag of chips, right? Your insulin is going to be high. Therefore, leptin is not going to know if you're full or not. So you're going to continue eating more and more and more while leptin is going to gradually try to keep up. That's why you feel the sensation of bloatness and you start eating more and more and more, yet you feel full, but you continue to still eating. So it's always going to be a one-on-one battle between leptin and insulin, and the food that you're going to be eating cause that insulin spike will more likely win, because you're always doing a shift up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. You're always going to have a constant battle with insulin and leptin. So whenever you're eating those bag of chips, insulin will go up and leptin will also go up, but it's like gradually not increasing properly. So that's why you're always going to feel that sensation of fullness but never satisfied, because leptin is going to tell you that you're actually satisfied. But when insulin's over, you're getting a mixed matching signals on your body, letting you know that I'm full, but also not full. How would you be able to control insulin? After you just learned those three hormones, this is where you actually need to start eating a lot of meats and fats. Everyone's going to tell you that fats is going to make you fat. No, it doesn't. That's just society norms telling you to not eat foods that are essentially healthy for you. Realize that back then when the pyramid scheme was released, majority of your meals should have been carbs. But yet, why does obesity go up? Before the food pyramid has ever existed, fats and proteins were really the main course of a meal every single time, because your great-grandfather didn't fucking eat pasta and cookies. Your great-grandfather didn't eat that. They ate steaks with butter and vegetables and maybe some potato. They've always eaten foods that are they've eaten foods with a lot of fat and protein. That being said, you need to be incorporating more protein, like meats. I'm telling you to eat more meats. I would say like ground beef, steaks, chicken, turkey breast, tuna. These are really going to be the best things for you to be able to actually lose the fat that you have accumulated for months. Because I'm telling you this right now, as you eat the meat, your body's going to use 100% of it. And therefore, when your body is using 100% for it, you're going to be able to feel a lot more energized, feel more stable, feel more, be able to build more muscle and lose fat more effectively, more than the simple calories where you have to be eating only 1,500 calories. Do you really think that you're supposed to be budgeting your calories? That's just you as an animal, because you are essentially still in your primal phase. Let's say you had a tribe and you killed the animal. You're not gonna just be like, oh, I want to eat the foot. No one thinks like that. You're going to eat constantly until you feel full, when the hormone leptin tells you that you're full. And guess what? When you eat that boar, it's meat and fat. There's no pasta. There's no Rice Krispies. There's no chips, cookies. They don't eat that. So I'm telling you, you should be more incorporating more meats. You could also do proteins as well, like as in plant and dairy protein, but I really emphasize eating more meat. You don't need the protein powders, the protein bars, because essentially they're worse than a Snicker bar, anything. So really emphasize on eating meats. Eat more meat. And for fats, obviously start switching out oils for butter. Butter has been here since day one of you living today. It's been one thing that everyone uses before even seed oils became a thing. You go throughout the social media and you start seeing why seed oils are bad, because they really are. Seed oils were never meant to be existing in this world. But yet we still have them, and yet you still see society telling you that seed oils are bad, because they aren't. They're not healthy fats. You need to be incorporating butter, ghee, or sometimes extra virgin olive oil. But you're kind of iffy on that part. But using butter is one of the easiest things, and you don't have to worry about the calories. Who cares if it's 300 calories? I put a half a stick of butter in my pan to make it all buttery and slippery with my eggs. And yet I'm still shredding fat. You could also incorporate nuts. Nuts are a really good healthy fat for your body. What the thing is too is that they also have fiber, so you'll be able to actually not feel hungry throughout the day, and also be able to lose a little bit of extra weight as well. Because fiber, what's so crazy about the fiber is that when you eat it, but you probably don't even know what the fiber does. It actually helps promote the good gut microbiome. Because when you start eating more fiber, your body's going to be wanting to crave more healthier options. You right now are probably still seduced by the sugar, by the colors, by the taste, the palatable stuff of like the Burger King, McDonald's, cookies, cookie crumble, because they had ingredients that are terrible for your gut microbiome, as well as no nutrients. Whereas if you eat fiber, your gut microbiome will be promoted healthier, and you will like more healthier food further on. You won't have to be struggling on why you don't like eating healthy. You will actually thrive more when you eat more healthier food, because you'll more likely want to eat it more. So always emphasize on eating more fats and proteins. Do not get in the habit of thinking fat is bad. Saturated fat isn't bad. Polysaturated, unsaturated fat isn't bad. But what about trans fat? What I've noticed a lot is it's mostly in the fast food industry, which is something that you really shouldn't be eating. But the other fats back in the list of the products that you see on the macros, don't really worry about it. If it has a high amount of fat, but when you emphasize on eating a lot more fat, it will actually satisfy leptin and keep leptin at a high amount of hours for you to be able to just survive without eating so much. And fat is good for energy, good for testosterone production, because if you're watching this now and you're a guy and overweight, you have extremely low testosterone. And honestly, why would you want to have that in your life? You want to be there. Do you really want to be 25 and still have a beer belly? Yeah, I got my little beard. You got like fucking gyno. Got man boobs. Do you really want that? No, of course not. You want to be able to be someone who's able to actually lose fat and eventually build muscle. So really start controlling your insulin level by eating a lot of proteins, meats, and a lot of fats. What about carbs? I haven't talked about that macronutrient in a while throughout this whole video. It's because Carbs are the number one reason why insulin is spiked. But there's certain types of carbs that won't. So what would that be? It might be pretty obvious because of the simple carbs that you're always eating. That is like the cereal, the cookies, the chips, the pizza, the crumble cookies. These are foods that are simple carbs. These are just like fast acting carbs because majority of them are just carbs that will spike your insulin, filled with sugar as well, and just overly spike your insulin level. Because when insulin is spiked, again, you're gaining fat from it. There's nothing else. You don't gain anything from it besides fat. So please remember, these simple carbs that you're eating throughout the day, and you feel that sense of bloatness, that is an indication that your gut microbiome has an allergic reaction and cannot eat that food. And every time you feel that bloatness is a spike of insulin level where you're actually just gaining fat. So what type of carbs should you actually eat? This is what I say: you should be eating complex carbs. But there's only certain complex carbs that I would tell you to eat, which would be any dark green vegetables. And why I would say that is because the majority of them don't really spike insulin, as well as their carb levels are relatively low. And the great thing about these foods will be that they're very high volume. So you can eat a lot of it and still feel full from it. Why I would emphasize it to avoid the complex carbs like sweet potato, Russell potatoes, is because their GMI index, if they're baked, cooked, or boiled, they're set relatively high. What I've noticed a lot too is whenever I start eating more sweet potato, I start to gain a little bit more fat than usual. So what I would experience though is that if you're a person who doesn't like cardio, I would really emphasize avoiding the potatoes and start switching it with like spinach, broccoli. One of my favorites is cauliflower rice. That is one of the things because it literally just tastes like rice, and the calories and the macros are immaculate. Just dark green vegetables that will help you a lot to pretty much give you what you want to have to eat the food. So remember, you need to be able to control insulin. If you don't like counting the calories, control your insulin. Insulin is only going to be able to be activated if it's going to be food from processed. Insulin is going to only be spiked if you're eating processed food or foods that are like simple carbs. When you feel a sensation of bloatness, that is your gut microbiome telling you that they have an allergic reaction and cannot consume that food. And when you feel that bloatness as well, insulin is high. This is where you're in a danger zone of fat gain because you're gaining nothing but simple fat. So start eating more proteins. Start eating more fats. Do not be afraid of eating meat. Society tells you that red meat is bad. I'm here to tell you, just a Hispanic guy who works in the gym and actually built some muscle and still get complimented by a bunch of guys. I got complimented by a bunch of women. I wouldn't be saying this if this was true. Because knowing me and you would probably have low self-confidence if we actually wanted to represent something that we want to have in life. So, I'm telling you this right now. If you eat more meat and eat more fat, you'll be able to control insulin and not feel hungry throughout the day. Start eating more green vegetables or more vegetables rather than potatoes or sweet potatoes. And if you want to start eating more potatoes, I emphasizing doing light cardio just so you can use that energy source to be a little bit more leaner than before. But that is it though. I really hope this helped. I've been stopping counting calories for about 3 months, and I honestly love it so much. I don't have to be one of those guys who spend $15.99 a month just to scan a picture of their food, where I just know that I could just eat what I could just eat and determine on what I want to eat and just go on my day. So if this helped, please leave a like, subscribe, comment something that you're struggling with, and I'll see if I can help you out with that. But put down that fork and go lift some weights, brother. And I'll see you soon.